Okay, where do you start with a couple of out-and-out champions like we've got here? I would say, just looking at the two of them, it could become a bit of a logistical nightmare travelling around the world or anywhere. Andrew, did I detect in a comment somewhere that you reckon that the planes that you were flying in a couple of flights did a bit of crop dusting along the way?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. We took some interesting routes in Europe. So I don't know if anyone's that good at geography here, but we flew from Lithuania, which is here, to get to Slovenia. We flew to Helsinki, and I'm looking at the map like we just went completely past where we were supposed to go, and then flew back. So yeah, it was definitely interesting in Europe, and planes are a little challenging for me. Not so much for Delhi, but for me.
That's got its advantages.
Yeah, tell us about, you must be pretty comfortable. You can sit up there, legs up, sort of, spread out, look at a bit of telly. But it is, I guess, a logistical nightmare. I mean, let's go to the States and the NBA. I mean, you guys are shuttled around so much on such a regular basis that, whatever the form of transport, how have you overcome that? Obviously, the design is a big factor in how you go and where you go and by what means. You can start first.
Yeah, so they actually take care of us really well. Each team has a private plane that they use, and the players up the front get the big chairs that stretch out, and my feet can't even touch the one in front of me. Bogues might be a different story.
He's up the front.
Yeah, he's up the front as well. So they take care of us in that way. You drive your car when you're at home, just right up to the plane, walk through a little private security, and you're on, and away. And then you just get a bus to the hotel, and then after games on the road, you'll get a bus from the arena straight to the plane, and you're on to the next city. And you're doing so much travel, like you said, that there's really no other way to do it.
No, well, you get looked after pretty well. What about you, Andrew? That's, to me, it's opening the door a little bit into the amazing lifestyle that you guys do. Here in Australia, we can get a bit of a picture of what an AFL team might have at their hands and disposal, and the sort of backup team and coaches that go with it. Yeah, take us inside the dressing rooms, inside the mindset and the backup and staff that you have when you're on tour.
Yeah, the people that we have, our equipment manager's my favourite guy, because the things that he does for us is absolutely sensational. I mean, this guy carries around 10 different flavours of chewing gum, every muesli bar, and he's really OCD with it. He actually goes overboard with it, and anything that you need, they'll get you. Anything that makes you comfortable, where you feel relaxed before a game, they'll get you. It's absolutely unbelievable. So you can ask, some guys push the limit a little bit, and tell them to turn it back sometimes, but they take absolute care of us. We're staying in the best hotels in the States, and everything is time precise. So we have, I was talking about it earlier on my table, we have brackets of games that are 4 and 5 nights. So what that means is we play back-to-back in different cities, have a day off, that's usually travel, and then back-to-back. So we go Melbourne tonight, playing Sydney tomorrow, have a day off, playing Brisbane the 4th day, and then fly to Perth for the 5th day. And any little bit of help that we can get with travel being right on point and right on time is more recovery getting our hotel room bed. So we'll get to hotel rooms at 4 or 5 in the morning sometimes on a game day, have a meeting at midday, eat some breakfast, go back, nap, and play that night. So once the season starts, there's no rest for the weekend, so we're usually on autopilot for a lot of it.
Matthew, a season, what does it look like? And how many games are we talking about here? I've mentioned before it's massive, but we're stretching 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 in AFL, and then the time between it. That sounds absolutely horrific as a lifestyle, and the ability to actually handle your body and make it line up for the next day.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest adjustment people have when they're coming into the NBA. It's an 82-game season, 41 at home, 41 on the road, and you're playing 3 to 4 games a week with travel included. So A lot of rookies hit what's called the rookie wall, where by All-Star break in February, the last few months of the season, they're just so tired they can barely get up and down the court. So getting your recovery and your rest, getting your sleep, your diet, really taking care of your body is really important, because it adds up after a long season.
The reason that it's called the NBA, in our locker room, most locker rooms, it stands for no boys allowed. And it sounds stupid, but it makes a man out of you whether you like it or not. Not just the on-court stuff, you got a lot to deal with. And that's kind of our little joke in the locker room and what it stands for.
No, I can understand that. I mean, just listening to that, the rigours of what you talk about. I mentioned before that life wasn't fair and it's not a flat line. In your case, Andrew, the amount of injury that you've had over the course, I guess as a result of all of those contests, your body from time to time has let you down a little, and you've been seriously injured, probably through no cause of your own. There's certainly not a boy mentality there. When you've got to face it, you've got to have that dialogue inside your head that actually enables you to come back from that sort of injury. Can we just get a feeling for how tough it was, and were there times when you said, gee, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it tests you. I'll go through it real quickly. I hope no one's eating. 3 broken noses, broke my elbow, completely hyperextended it, broke my index finger, broke my wrist, all in the same injury. Completely broke my talus in my ankle, tore membrane in my shin, multiple fractures in my back at different points. And a lot of them weren't from not putting enough training in.
No.
My injuries have been car accident injuries, I refer to them as. So all high impact, put my body on the line. 2 of them I told I'd never play again. The elbow, they said, I probably won't be able to shoot, a basketball the same way again. I battled through that one. And then the bad one was the ankle, because I missed the 2012 Olympics, so I was really shattered about that. And they said, I had microfracture at the time, which there wasn't a lot of research with it, and they said it's highly unlikely that I'll be able to perform at the same level, and I bounced back from both of them, and I'm still playing at a high level, so I take a lot of pride in that.
So you must see a few along the way. What are some of the really bad ones that you've seen opposing teams and 1 or 2 in your own team?
Well, Dante, unfortunately
awful.
in Europe, did his knee, so obviously wishing him a speedy recovery, and it's just something you don't ever want to see another athlete go through, no matter what the sport, because you know yourself what you put into your body, and trying to take care of it, and then to have it taken away and have to put that much more work in just to get back to where you were. That's what makes Bog's stories so incredible, really.
Insurance policies, you'd have to go there, wouldn't you? I mean, with that sort of machinery, both of you, and Dante's a perfect example. How do you come to grips? Is that done for you by your team?
Yeah, teams take care of that. So they have insurance on every player in the NBA, and if you have a career-threatening injury that takes you out, insurance usually fronts up 90% of it. The tough one is when you play for your national team. So Delhi had a bit of a hold up this off season with it, so they have to negotiate on the national team taking up the month or 2 that you're with the national team. They got to pay that part of the policy, so it becomes a little waiting game and can get pretty nasty at times. So I've had to deal with that firsthand a couple of times, and you never want to get involved in that mumbo jumbo. You just want to play.
In 2011, you run into obstacles there. You wanted to come to the Sydney Kings, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a lockout, so we had a player strike. Owners were being very, very greedy, so that's why we had a strike. Wasn't anything to do with the players. And no, don't laugh. I'm serious. So yeah, I had an opportunity where we didn't know when the season was going to start. So I wanted to get back into shape, and there was an opportunity where the Sydney Kings, phoned up, and it wasn't about the money for me at that point. It was about trying to help the game in Australia, and just playing in the NBL for as long as I could till the season got back on track. And the one hiccup was the insurance. So the policy ended up being, because the NBA was technically in a strike, that NBA policy was void. So it would have meant the insurance policy from the Kings would have probably bankrupted the league. So they got thrown out the window, and yeah, had to move on. But Brucey over here, he's my agent here in Australia. We explored every avenue till the 10th hour, till the Friday night, the first game, which was in Melbourne. I had a playbook sent out. I had physicals done. I was trying to get it done, and it just didn't work out. I was pretty disappointed, but at the same time, I couldn't risk getting on a court and not having insurance.
So you both come up through the college system, you at Utah and St Mary's, but in a sense, the same but different. So let's start with you, Matthew. Your experience there, what it meant to you, and what doors did it open for you?
Yeah, St Mary's was an unbelievable 4 years for me. I went there after I went to the Institute of Sport up in Canberra for 3 years, and as soon as I heard about college basketball, I knew that's what I wanted to do and that's the path I wanted to take. My mum's a school teacher, so she's drummed into me that education is really important, so I graduated with my degree there, but I went over with two of my best mates and from Australia, and we just had a great time, and lucky enough to win a fair few games, and it was just a great experience in general.
A lot of talent scouts in that space, looking for talent like yourself?
Yeah, towards the end of my career, we had some NBA scouts coming to training just to check you out and watch, and to games as well. So it's a good avenue to get noticed in that way as well.
A psychology degree too. Now that might have come in pretty handy with the haka. I mean, what did you take out of that in terms of intimidation, or did you try to get inside their head?
I think it's obviously a great tradition for New Zealand, and you see it in the rugby, and yeah, we just kind of stand there at half court and lock arms, and it obviously fires them up when they're doing it, but it definitely fires us up as well. And yeah, I think it's a pretty special thing in the Australian-New Zealand rivalry.
You gave them the big stare, the both of you. You could see that on the video. It was, the replay was just amazing. So that body language, I mean, it's probably another way of sledging.
Essentially, I wouldn't say sledging, but we respect their, why they do it and all of that. But we know that it is a war dance in a way. They're ready to battle and they're ready to compete, and it's it's portrayed to intimidate your opponent. So we weren't going to let it intimidate us, and we every time we play in New Zealand, we lock arms and we walk up right to that half court line. I go over it a little bit just to see what happens, and then they go at it. Like I told the story earlier. When I was my first campaign with the Boomers, they'll usually pick a rookie, and I was that guy in 05, and the bloke finished his haka right here. I'm serious. Like, he was spitting on my face. I'm not joking. And the haka finished, and I wouldn't move, and he wouldn't move. Haka finished it. All the teammates had walked away. I just stood there, and I wasn't going to move first. And then, it was almost a little headbutt, little push, and that's just how it is. And it gets us going almost as much as it does them, so we don't mind it.
It must have meant a lot to you to come back and play in front of a home crowd. Is it true you hadn't played in front of a home crowd since about 2006? Yeah, so
I've had a lot of injuries. So I missed the 2012 Olympics and the last World Championships. So it's been a while for me to don the green and gold. The priority was to get myself. Every off season was a challenge to rehab for the next NBA season, and that was disappointing. But our last game in Melbourne anyway was in 06, so where we had it in a big arena. So it was nice to get, for those of you who aren't aware, we had 15,000 people at Rod Laver on a Saturday night when Geelong and Hawthorn were playing down the street, which is just absolutely fantastic, and the basketball community embraced us and supported us. So hopefully there's many more games like that to come. Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about Melbourne, they love sport here, and there's been a lot of sport just in the last couple of weeks to get excited about, and some great wins and victories there. Let's go back to 2005. Utah, 2005, first round, #1 pick. My goodness. Yeah, I mean, never thought it was possible. As a kid growing up, you know, I'm from the suburbs of Dandenong. Dad was a labourer, mum worked for my dad. So my dream was just to play in the NBL. I didn't think you know, it was a pipe dream to play in the NBA. It would be nice, you know, but I didn't think it was possible, you know. And I kept getting better and better, and then I got to a point where, without sounding cocky or arrogant, where I thought there was no one left in Australia to beat me up and get me better. I thought I was better than everybody. I want to go to the States. I want to get beat up. I want to like knock that guy off his pedestal and get better with my game. And the journey started, and I had a great 2 years at University of Utah. I was an All-American my second year, and kind of took them by surprise. My sophomore year, which is my second year, and then started hearing that I'll be a top 5, you know, top 10 pick, then a top 5 pick, then I'll be top 3.
Yeah.
And I had to leave, you know. I was never going to leave that on the table, and then you know, ended up being the number 1 pick. So it was just a whirlwind, and then all of a sudden I'm in New York City. There's cameras everywhere, and you know, I didn't know how to handle it. It was tough. It was the toughest part of my life. I had family come over, and then the real journey started. You know, all of a sudden you're giving a 19-year-old kid millions of dollars. You know, I was working at a sports bar in college before that because I couldn't afford to eat. My sophomore year. You know, the NCAA don't pay us. No. So one of our boosters owned a local sports bar of all places. So everyone knew who I was, and I was a food runner. You know, I was running. I couldn't serve food and alcohol because I was under 21. So my job was to help the waitresses take the food out and collect the plates. And you know, it got me enough money to eat off the dollar menu at a local burger joint every night, pretty much. And that's how I got through college. So then all of a sudden I got millions of dollars. I'm like, I had no idea about banking, about how I should invest it. Do I buy a house? How do I borrow a loan? You know, I'm just no clue.
It's there, isn't it?
It's just there. Like,
and it's
a
massive.
And the financial advisors start, and the agents and all that, and you know, to cut that story a little shorter, I ended up just getting fed up with calling my financial advisor every time I needed something. So I went back through Open Uni here in Australia. I went through Deakin and did a finance course for a year to manage everything by myself. So I don't use financial advisors anymore. I do all my own investments, and I know where every dollar is in every bank account that I have. So that was something that, you know.
Yeah, wow, outstanding, mate.
Yeah.
Valley, what about you from free agent to making the roster? Tell us a bit about your transition. How did you go? Were you working at university as a runner from a food chain?
No, I wasn't quite doing that, but I didn't get drafted when I came out of college. I had a pretty good year, 4 years at St. Mary's, and had heard from my agent that I was hopefully going to go early second round, as there's 60 picks in the NBA. And I was sitting there at my head coach's house in Moraga with a few of the other coaches, and we're hearing the names getting called out, and they kept going. Checking my phone, see if I'm going to get a call, and nothing ended up happening. So I was obviously pretty disappointed. Went back to the court that night, get some shots up, get some frustration out, and then went to Summer League. Cleveland called me and said they wanted me to come into Summer League, and if I did well there, go to training camp, and then try to make the team from training camp. So yeah, it was a tough few months, and then they, you know, continually cut people throughout training camp, and I was one of the ones left standing, and yeah, I was obviously pretty happy to get that tap on the shoulder to say, hey, we're keeping you, and you're going to be in the NBA. So it's been, yeah, pretty whirlwind. I'd say 2 years from where I've come from to now, and hopefully got a long way to go and a lot more improvement in me.
Don't you love that stickability and that attitude, ladies and gentlemen? I think that's good luck. Just signed again on the 27th of July. That's tremendous. Can I just fold back a little bit on that whole issue of the businesses that you both are now, and it comes at you pretty quickly. And Andrew, you said hands-on. it's wonderful that you are very hands-on. Give us an idea of some of the businesses that you've got and you've set up or you're involved in, after a decade in the NBA, and where you might like to go, maybe another couple of years, you might go another contract, but you might not too. What's your vision for the future, Andrew Bogut?
It's hard to say that far ahead, but I want to make sure that I've got everything, all the eggs in the right basket when I'm done, so that my money's making money for me while I'm not doing anything. So whether I'm chasing different yields with investment properties, I study commercial real estate a lot here in Melbourne, in particular, just because I'm from here, and the interest rates on cash deposits are just plummeting down. So I've got to find other avenues now, all that kind of stuff, and I just feel more empowered knowing, when I get my financial statement, I know how to read it. Whereas early on in my career, I had no idea. And as a competitive athlete, you pretend you do, but there's a lot of blokes that don't. So some business interests. Myself and Bruce Cater is sitting over here. Put your hand up, Brucey. Yeah. Back when it's kind of a segue. Back when the Ricky Nixon stuff started. I'd called Brucey. I don't know if he still remembers the call. And he was managing me here in Australia and doing all my stuff here. And I said, mate, there's an opportunity for an agency here that actually helps their athletes and wants them to, do their accounting the right way, get the right tax advice, set themselves up with, are they paying family members when they shouldn't be? Are they, is their house, should they have $1 million house on a $100,000 contract? So we set up an agency called One Management Group, and we're in our 3rd year now, and it's gone very, very well. And we're a boutique agency that tries to instill values into our athletes, not just, we don't want to call our athletes when it's contract time and say, hey mate, I got you this contract, by the way, send the commission check, thanks. No, I'll talk to you again next year. And that's kind of what we set up, and it's doing very, very well. I couldn't be happier with it. So I'm kind of involved from afar with that, not on a day-to-day, but as much as I can be. Basketball school in Carrum Downs, so some changes, we've gone through some changes there as well. That's done pretty well. They're probably the 2 main things that I do here in Melbourne, and it just, being hands-on and being involved when I'm home teaches me a lot about, different things that I never thought I'd have a chance to learn in college or getting a degree. I think being hands-on and being actually in the street doing it is invaluable.
Gee, isn't that great to hear? I mean, really, absolutely. Hands-on, take responsibility. There's a vulnerability there, isn't it, for a young player coming in year 1, year 2, to be exploited by other people out there that you sort of alluded to a little bit. How are you going right now at the moment, Matthew? You've got good support?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I've got like a financial advisor in the US who I work with, and then my mum and dad, but my dad especially, does property developments in Maryborough with land and just into real estate now. So doing some stuff with him back home, and it's good to keep in touch with them and have something other to talk about than just basketball, and keep involved in Maryborough as well.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. Let's now get to the muscle and vintage cars. I mean, just the terminology, hasn't that got a ring to it? Let's drill down on what is a muscle car? What's your best muscle car? And have you ever bought a lemon?
Well, there's 2 ways to answer this. I can say I have a full shed of BMWs. I can say, my dad was a mechanic growing up, so I grew up in a workshop. He was a carburetor specialist, which is obviously a dying industry right now with fuel injections. So I grew up, around a block of factories. I was outside playing with a basketball, a soccer ball, football, but grew up around hot cars. So just something I always liked. I think a nice car is a way of expressing yourself and expressing unique tastes. Someone might not like the wheels you put on, but if you like them, that's all that matters. And so I like the late Peter Brock, big fan of Brocky and the Australian race history that he brought. So a couple of old school, Commodores, all original. I don't like to pick them up and try to find them in original form, and just a passion that I have away from the court that kind of takes my mind away from anything that's going on in my life and any negatives that I have, and I just jump on car sales and just research. Oh, that car's going up. That's kind of good for me because I got one of those. Or do I call this bloke and lowball him on this one, or you know what I mean? So, studying him, that's been for sale for 18 months. I reckon I could lowball him, and it's worked a couple of times actually, and just stuff like that. So it's just a passion of mine, and I really enjoy doing it. Nothing better than a nice sunny day in Melbourne, which is rare. To get out and just cruise around, go for a coffee with some family or friends, and just do the everyday things. I'm not a guy that's all Hollywood and into all the big lights. I like doing the finer things and just driving down the peninsula, getting a coffee and going home. And that's a sensational day for me.
You like reading, Matthew? Give us an insight into the sort of books that you like reading. I've done a little bit of homework on you, and that one's, I'd like to drill down a little deeper on that one.
Not quite as exciting as muscle cars, but it keeps me busy on the road. You often have a lot of spare time when you're traveling, either on the plane or sitting in a hotel room, and psychology is something that I'm interested in and continue to be interested in. So yeah, a lot of psychology books, just learning more about the mind and how you can use it more efficiently, which obviously helps in basketball, but helps in general life as well.
Doesn't it? It's an interesting dimension, that one between our ears, isn't it?
It is, and yeah, my mum's a school teacher, obviously, so coaching is something I'd probably be interested in after basketball. So yeah, just reading up on that and seeing where it goes.
So what about the playoffs, the finals? If on opposing teams, only one's going to win. What do you think of Andrew's form, technique, skill as a player? You can be honest here; it won't go outside this room.
Really?
A little bit of insider information is going to be good, because I'm going to ask the writer reply too to Andrew.
Oh, and he gets the finishing one. So.
I know where this is going.
Do I get a reply?
Oh, you go backwards and forwards like table tennis if you like.
Mate. Just be careful.
Well, I think the thing I was most worried about was him smashing me on a screen and not being able to play in the Boomer series back here. But Bogs is obviously a key to the Warriors system and how they play. Such a smart player for a big guy.
Little throw up.
He can really pass the ball well, and they've really utilised that in their system. And yeah, obviously tough screen setter, protects the rim as good as anyone in the NBA. So that's really fueled their offense, being able to get out and run. So yeah, I was keeping my eyes peeled for those screens, because when he sets them, they're pretty solid.
Bang. Did he muscle you a bit? Yeah, or vice versa?
I don't know if they got any footage, but he did push me into the crowd. I think he was a little bit frustrated or tired or something, but he just put me into the front row off the ball. So
Just kept holding Curry and fouling Curry, so I had to take care of him.
but it has been much better being on the same team the last month.
Yeah. So what about the attitude, the never say die, the absolute bull terrier at a low ball? Andrew, what do you think about him as a player? You're together now. You're in a team. My goodness, you see Rio de Janeiro, but it's very surely you'll be back opposite one another again for a short while as well. So,
Well, yeah, I think we both don't take a backward step, and I think that's why Delly's his journey in the league is very, very impressive. To go undrafted and then end up starting a game. How many games? 4 or 5 games in the NBA Finals.
wow, great.
Absolutely sensational, and not just start him just to fill numbers. He made an impact. In my opinion, game 2 and 3 was won by Delly's energy and enthusiasm and passion. He's going to take hits. He puts his body on the line every night. Very smart, high IQ guy. Unfortunately, not the most athletic or.
Hey, I'm getting there. I'm heading in the right direction.
I'm saying that in a compliment, because to play in our league, the guys that he's guarding are very athletic, can jump over a hay bale, and for him to be, in the league and competing against those guys when he was labelled out of college as that he'll never make it in the NBA and blah blah blah. He's done a tremendous job, and he keeps proving people wrong. And I think his journey is the epitome of an Aussie athlete coming from Australia, especially overseas in the big show. And I couldn't say it at the time, but I was very proud of the way he played in the NBA Finals. Put his name on the NBA map, and I think he's going to have a very good career from it.
Dellimania was a result. You obviously love one another, and you're going to do well together. Come the Olympics, it'll be terrific to take on Team USA. You get a chance there to, genuinely think we can pick up a medal.
Definitely, and we were talking about that today, and we don't really want to set a limit on what we can do because we have all the tools there. Everyone's committed to the group. We've had a core group together for a while now, and now's the time to try to capitalise on that in Rio.
Started to talk just a little bit about Dellimania. Were you aware of just how extraordinary and far-reaching your impact had on so many people right around the planet?
Nah. to answer it simply, I was just focused on what I had to do to prepare for the next game and try to get my body and mind right, and pretty much turned off the phone, turned off the TV, just playing some backgammon with my girlfriend and my family, just relaxing. And it's only kind of been since I've been back in Australia that people have been telling me how big it was. Everyone was watching the finals, and it's cool to know how much support there was back here.
They say you go that hard, your work ethic is incredible. You never leave anything on the boards out there. You went to the brink during that final series and ended up in hospital for a little while, dehydrated and travelling just average.
Yeah, average was definitely how I was feeling after, I think it was after game 3. Pretty much maxed it out, and after getting an IV, just pretty much whole legs just cramped up. I could feel them starting to twitch. Anyone who's played sports probably had a cramp, and you get that feeling when they're just about to go, and then the quads went, the hammies went, and the adductors went, and my legs were just locked up, and they couldn't get them to relax. So sat in the cold tub for 30 minutes trying to get that to stop, and then they thought heading to hospital would have been the best form of recovery because we had to play another grand final 2 days later. So it was interesting times, but definitely a good experience and something to learn from.
Well, you should cherish that, those games, the victory and, the pursuit of victory on both your behalves there. I know you both like a bit of footy, and, we mentioned earlier that Collingwood was your team of choice. And look, I seriously, I used to work with a little bloke named Lou Richards, and he'd frighten a dog off a chain on a dark night, Louis, and did a lot of miles with him. It's very hard to love Collingwood being a Melbourne man, but tell us about your love of footy and how you got to Collingwood, and then Andrew, we might talk about Essendon, I believe.
Oh, good there.
Well, I watched the 1990 Premiership when I was 3 weeks old with a Collingwood bib on, so I've been Collingwood since the start. My dad and my pa are both Collingwood, so it's been ingrained in me since birth, and always love going to a game when I come home, and try to catch it where I can while we're overseas.
Is it easy to catch it overseas? I mean, how far and wide does the AFL spread its communications?
They got the AFL Live where you can watch the games online now. Just the time difference is a bit tough. I think they come on around 3, 4 in the morning on the East Coast, so not good for the recovery. So just try to keep off the phone and watch a replay, so where I can.
Yeah, Andrew? The Bombers?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a tough
without
week to be talking about the Bombers.
Yeah, it is.
But why not?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to get into the controversy beyond it, but
I got spoiled as a young fella, so we had a lot of success in the early 90s and the early 2000s. So I've seen, there's some people out there that haven't seen a premiership in their lifetime, and I've seen a couple. So definitely, cherish those moments as a Bomber. It's just been a long time coming since then. I've had a horrendous almost 13 years now, and it hasn't gotten much better. So hopefully things around the corner for us, and trying to stay positive as much as I can. But definitely a passionate supporter, and I'm in a better time zone than Delhi, so I can watch a few of the games. They come on. The day games are usually the ones I can get at about 10:30. They start in California, so I try to get them. And I don't think I even watch them for the footy sometimes. I think I just watch them just to hear an Australian accent.
Yeah.
The commentators.
Just cure some homesickness, to be honest with you. You know,
Yeah.
it's just good to hear that.
You run into Kevin Sheedy once or twice. He's an extraordinary man and negotiates regularly with the Martians. And when you have a conversation with Sheeds, and before long he's psychoanalyzing you, isn't he? I mean, let's talk a bit about your coaches. You know, Andre Lemanis here in Australia, he seems to be a pretty shrewd character.
Yeah, I think Andre's been great for the Boomers program, and definitely has us heading in the right direction for Rio. He's had a lot of success with the New Zealand Breakers in the Australian League, picking up a few titles, and yeah, it's good being point guard under him.
What about in the States, in the NBA? What makes the coaches tick? What sort of information do they give it to you? How do they do it?
I think the NBA, a very important part of it is ego management, believe it or not. You can have the best X's and O's in the world and you could still get fired as a coach. So a lot of it is managing players. So we both had a rookie first year coach, first time in NBA history that both teams in the finals had a rookie coach. And Steve Kerr, his big thing was he knew how to make each guy tick. So it's very hard in pro sports. You might rah-rah one guy and he might like that. The next guy might completely shut down.
Yeah.
He might need a hug and you know, hey mate, are you all right? You know, and that's a big part of sport, especially with coaching, is knowing that psychology of you got to know each one of your guys. The guys that get in trouble blanket everyone together, and they're usually the better coaches, X's and O's, but they don't last. So Steve Kerr, he played for Greg Popovich, one of the best coaches of all time, and Phil Jackson. He's taken parts of all those guys, and he was just sensational just with his daily player management. One of the best coaches I work for, and not only that, just a normal bloke off the court, very approachable, very easy to talk to, straight down the line, and you know, just was an absolute thrill to work for.
Matthew, in your case, inside the engine room, the Cavs?
Yes.
LeBron's his coach.
No, he's not.
Yeah, you've got a great relationship with LeBron.
He's been watching too much Sports Center. Yeah, David Blatt, he's a rookie NBA coach, but has had a lot of success over a number of years in Europe, winning EuroLeague titles, and he actually signed up to coach the team that didn't have LeBron or Kevin Love. So I guess he had to change his plans according to that. But I think he did an unbelievable job considering the amount of scrutiny and pressure that comes from the media and having to talk to them every day when they're trying to grill you. And we had a bit of a tough start to the season. I think we were 19 wins, 20 losses at one point, and people were calling for his head, but he just kept. We're on a West Coast road trip. The Warriors beat us, Sacramento beat us, LeBron came back from injury, and Phoenix beat us, and we're traveling to LA. We're heading to practice, and we're 19 and 20. People are calling for Coach Blatt's head, and he takes us 10-pin bowling just to release the tension, have the boys just hang out together away from the court, and we went on to win 4 or 5 in a row, and that noise kind of went away. So, like Bogut said, it's not just the X's and O's, it's you know, managing people and getting them in the right frame of mind.
I see the suites are out on the table now. Yeah, we're very envious actually of the suites on the table. We're just looking down there. We're all big units, and we do like our food. And if anyone looks like taking any of our 3 plates away, just have a chat to them, please. Look, we're well represented here tonight in all forms of the media. So I'd reckon that there are plenty of questions out there. We have a roving microphone, ladies and gentlemen, so maybe put your hand up. The microphone will come your way. Hold the microphone up pretty close too, because we'll get a result much better. Everyone will be able to hear, and we'll answer some questions. Do we have our first question somewhere? We have one down here.
Thanks. Michael's my name, guys. Just hats off to you both for an amazing effort, especially in the playoffs. That's what gets exposure. And you were over there in the media storm in the middle of it, and it was awesome to get it back in Australia. My boat's down in Patterson Lake, Stelby, and I ran into a dude that knows your dad, mate, from Maryvale. We were down there giving it a bit of a run, and we had a chat as if you were standing right next to us, and it was just awesome. So,
that's awesome.
My question to you both: how do you manage to stay focused? Like, it's very cliche, with the media. How do you manage to stay focused on 6 or 7 grand finals in a row back to back when you've got cameras and journos and everyone wanting a piece of you, and your job is to perform on court?
It's not easy. So the NBA finals, everything completely changed. So we weren't allowed to practice at our own facility. We had to move all our practices to the arena to accommodate media, which is absolutely mind-boggling. It was mandatory media before every session was 45 minutes. It's free reign, so we had to come out in the court in our uniform and just sit around, and anyone can approach us and interview us. You had people from China that were struggling to relay questions. You had people from India. You had people from all over the world, and you get through all that, and then you got media afterwards, and then you got friends and family texting you for tickets. You got a bloke you never spoke to from Melbourne that's somehow passing through during the NBA finals that wants 3 tickets. So you got all these distractions, and then all of a sudden the game starts. And you're like, wow, you're almost already worn out. So we got warned by Steve Kerr, our coach. He'd been involved in many championship runs, and he warned us about that. So it can get to you. You've got to be very, very careful. And like Delly said, I ended up switching off my phone. I got off social media for the whole playoffs, and it worked wonders for me to stay focused. But if you're not careful, it can definitely wear you out, and all of a sudden there's a jump ball and you're completely spent.
You got some strong thoughts on social media, the mobile phone. You often refer to the odd article in your Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, during the playoffs, you kind of, tone it back, and then during the finals, just completely switched off, like Bogut said. It's so full on with the media, like you were saying. Every day you've got some sort of commitment, and they're asking you all the same questions, in a row every day. How you feeling? Yeah, so I don't know how LeBron and those guys do it, because that's every single day for them, whereas for me it was just, the finals. So the easiest way was just to turn off the TV, because that's all they were talking about was the NBA finals, and just find a nice little distraction. And for me, that was a bit of backgammon.
Yeah, yep. Excellent question, that one, ladies and gentlemen. We have another one, table beyond.
G'day guys, Mitch here from SEN. First of all, to both of you, thank you for taking the time pretty regularly to speak with us and our audience. You've been great for us, and I'd like to think that our audience has been greatly enhanced by your presence on this, so thank you for that. I suppose my question is, what lessons do you think Australian professional sport could learn from the NBA, and vice versa, what could the NBA learn from Australian professional sport?
Want to go first?
I think the thing that the NBA could learn from Australian sport, I mean, team culture in Australia is, I think, obviously biased, but the best in the world, and by a long way. There's just nothing like team sport in Australia, and obviously, there's a lot of things involved in the NBA with money and contracts and stuff like that, but I think that's why you're seeing a lot more Australians over there, because they can fit into teams so well. And the thing Australian sport could get from the NBA, I think maybe the media access, they really, I mean, it's tough on the players at times, but for the media it's great, and it's great for the fans because they pretty much have 24 access and news cycle of different stories, and feel like they know the players because you're getting so much access.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think what we could take from the NBA is the media access that although tedious at times for us, is it stops. You know, I always make a joke. It stops the Craig Hutchinsons jumping out of the tree to get an exclusive.
Come on. How good's that?
And the reason for that is
Doc.
because if there's an issue, there's a scandal, just go and address it. Address it with a sponsor sign behind you. Your sponsor's happy. Address what's going on. The media are happy. They get their soundbite, and they're not waiting on the road and dodging cars and doing all that, because it becomes a circus at that point. So I agree with that 100%. And the thing we could take better in the States would be team culture, number one. And they're getting better in the States, but I still think we're ahead of the curve a little bit with our recovery. We do have more games, so it's a little harder, but I feel like we take a bit more of a priority with the AIS and all that kind of stuff. We're kind of one of the best countries in the world as far as monitoring recovery and doing the extra little things, which is why Delly said, you know, college teams like recruiting Australian athletes because they can look after themselves. So we can't get to a masseuse or a physio. We know to get a foam rollout and self-massage ourselves, get an extra stretching session, do a pool session, get the ice on, whereas a lot of kids over in the States and Europe don't. They need someone to do it for them. So they definitely appreciate that. They're getting better with it in the States, predominantly because they're hiring a lot of Aussies now.
Yeah.
So we just hired an Aussie to run our sports department in Golden State, and I think Delly's did too.
Yeah, we've had Aussie the last couple of years. Used to work with the Brisbane Lions, so he's got Sharon in his office, so it keeps a bit of Aussie culture there as well.
Yeah, you get the feel, mate.
Yeah.
We got a question from this side of the room somewhere. We had a couple from there. What about one down this end of the world? We're way down there. We have one.
Way at the back. Yeah, my name's Nick. I work here at BMW Melbourne, and it's been awesome looking after you guys while you've been here, and I'm a massive basketball fan, so thanks for coming past. You're both pretty physical with your game. Andrew, with your rivalry with the Clippers throughout the last couple of seasons, and Delly, you got pretty physical through the finals as well. Is it easy to explain to American media, and that's just the way Aussies play?
Nah.
Because you seem to get a fair bit of stick for it through the media, and they just don't get it.
Yeah, I think both of us have been labelled dirty at times, probably. But I don't see it as dirty. I got toe to line. If you want to be physical, no problem. And I think Delly's the same. I think the thing is, there's so many games and there's so much involved. The guys just kind of want to meander through. And if you're a superstar, you're not supposed to get hit. Nah. No. I got a bit of flack in the finals because I laid out LeBron at a point where we spoke about in the locker room. We needed some presence and not let him get easy baskets driving down the paint. So I took that opportunity and fouled him hard, not as hard as he fell, but fouled him hard. And I think something that we needed at the time, and it is what it is. I'm happy to win a championship by saying was he over physical? Yeah, probably, but the ring definitely helps cure that quote.
Hopefully I get one next year, I guess.
Yeah, mate. No trust.
Yeah, I think, in Australian sport, I grew up playing footy and soccer and other sports, and you're always taught whoever goes in the hardest is most likely to A, get the ball, and B, not get hurt. So, yeah, that's the way I've always played, no matter what the sport.
That's great wisdom, I reckon. Universal there, universal truth. Do we have another question down this side? Yes, thank you, sir.
Duncan McKenzie-McCarg from Channel 10. This question is actually for my brother. He's a bit too embarrassed to ask it for you, Matthew. He's a bit starstruck. But just in terms of the NBA Finals, I mean, it was just absolutely gripping to watch, but it was really gripping to watch your duel with the best shooter in the world, Steph Curry. What was going on between the two of you? Was there any sort of trash talking going on or anything like that? And did you end the series as friends or get any closer? Because it seemed like it was getting pretty physical and heated out there.
I mean, he was the MVP of the league, so obviously knew it was going to be a tough cover going into the series. Just try to watch as much game tape on him as possible to just find out his tendencies, where he gets his shots on the court, out of what sets, because like Bogue said, I'm not the quickest guy, but if you can pick up those little things and read the play before it happens, you can make up for that. But I'm not a trash talker at all. That's something that the Americans are definitely better at because they grow up doing it. But yeah, so I didn't say anything to him. He didn't say anything to me. I think he's too busy celebrating. I shook Bogue's hand, I think Clay Thompson, and then they were all busy celebrating. So I didn't really get to see him, but he's obviously a great player, and he's worked really hard to get what he's got as well.
And good answer, and I don't think there's any embarrassment there whatsoever. You can tell your brother, that's great. We have one down here, thank you very much. Table 4.
So firstly, congratulations guys on how well you've done.
Thanks, thank you.
Andrew, I've known you since you were about 15, sort of followed your career, and you played basketball with my son at Sandringham, and we took a group of 15-year-olds over to Hawaii, and you were one of them. And I can just remember that, that you're a bunch of 15-year-olds, and I remember dragging a couple of them off you and thinking, well, probably saved you from... But anyway, how did you get from there, 6 years later, effectively, being one of the greatest opportunities from a basketball perspective in the world, so, obviously there was a life-changing event for you, or was there someone that made the difference? Was it just you working hard? What was it?
I had a lot of speed bumps. I got expelled from high school in year, I think it was year 11. Bit of a troubled kid, got bullied a lot, got in a lot of fights. Funnily enough, yes, I did get bullied. Everyone else says you were so tall, how'd you get bullied? Yes, but it was during the year 12s, and the older kids would have a crack at me, so I'd have a crack back and get in trouble. And then I ended up getting cut from the Dandenong team in under 16s. Moved to Waverley, was there for a year, went to Sandringham, and then when I played with Phelps, your son, we were like the misfit group. Like Basketball Victoria hated us for whatever reason, and we just went out there and we'll try to, just be physical with other teams and whatnot. Had a tryout for the under-18 state team. I got the emergency. So what that means is if someone got hurt, I got to go. So I was pissed. I was livid. And the best part of that was that all those guys on that state team played for club teams. So I wrote all their names down, and I was going to play every one of those guys on a Friday night. And just wanted to kill them, every one of them. Like, honestly, that's the mentality I had. I was perceived to have an attitude problem as a kid because I was so fiery and passionate about basketball that I didn't care about anything else. Ended up getting a wild card invitation to the Australian under-19 Australian selection camp, which they never give to a guy that's not at nationals. So I rocked up. No one knew who I was. Just all the best kids in Australia. They're like, who is this kid? Just laughing at me. And they offered me a scholarship to AIS that night after one training session. And then
Wow.
my journey just blossomed from there. And I just wanted to be the best I could be. Ended up going and getting a scholarship to Utah, played for the late great Rick Majerus, one of the toughest coaches of all time, my freshman year. And then he had left, we had a new coach, he let me play, and then the journey just kept progressing, and it kind of went like a whirlwind. But to this day, I tell everybody, without the obstacles that I faced as a young fellow, without getting cut from that team, I'd probably be working at BMW right now, cleaning the cars. So.
Yeah. Great answer. Great answer. Matthew, what about you? Was there one or two characters that changed the way that you act and thought along the way?
I mean, my parents have always been great role models for me, and you know, just through their actions, how hard they work at their respective jobs. And then Marty Clark at the AIS, he was our head coach there for 2.5 years, and he's been a great mentor and role model for me even after the AIS.
Yeah, two great answers, I think, and a wonderful question. We have another question. We've got, questions are coming thick and fast. That's great. So, well, we've got one in the far corner and here. Then I think there's probably a couple over here. So, fire away, sir.
Same from the work as well, and just another question about physicality in the NBA. Say compared to AFL and rugby union, known for physicality, would you say that basketball in the NBA is as physical as that? And it seemed like in the finals was extra physicality allowed by the refs. Can you comment on that?
I mean, I don't think you can compare physicality in basketball to rugby or AFL just because, you know, there's completely different rules. But as for more physicality being allowed in the playoffs and finals, I'd definitely say that there is more of that. I think it turns into more of a half-court game. But I think you see more physicality and desperation to win the ball in all sports when you get to the finals, like in the footy finals and then the grand final. Guys are diving all over the place trying to get a possession. So I think that's consistent with most sports.
Yeah, similar. It's a different type of physicality in my opinion. AFL's obviously very tough because there's no line of ball, so you can get hit from anywhere. Unexpectedly, basketball's very similar, but basketball there's no real break-free contact because in my position it's a little different to Delly's. Working in the paint, there's always someone hitting you. So it's not massive hits, but it's always someone holding at you, grabbing at you, you know, giving you little elbows and stuff like that. So, and then yeah, like Dally said, I love playoff time because I can set more illegal screens and they don't call them. The whistles, they kind of just let you play once the playoffs start. In the regular season, they protect us much more, but the playoffs start for some reason, you can just get away with some absolute crazy things, and I'll always start a game out and see how much I can get away with, and then if they don't call it, it's usually a good night.
A question here. Last question, is it?
All good with me.
That's fantastic. The last question. We've got it in the back. A really good player out of luck, I think, on.
Really refreshing seeing a couple of genuine Aussie guys. And I guess that's my question is, you're as down to earth Aussie guys as we've all been. So what have you taken Aussie to the States, and what American things have you learned that you're going to try and bring back here?
I took some Tim Tams and I think just like Dally said, I think the reason why guys like us hang around in the NBA and in professional sports is because of our culture and fitting into any situation. So it's very respected and very underrated in the NBA because, you know, it's a trait that we kind of grow up with that we don't even think is a trait. But you get over there and they make a big deal. Oh, you know, he's such a good guy in the locker room and he's a great teammate and he's selfless and it's not about himself. Whereas in Australia, it's like pretty much everybody. Over there, it's made a point of like, they'll actually sign you if you do that, you know, especially later on in your career. You know, I've ended up getting a job just as a 15th man on the roster just to be a good bloke in the locker room. No, honestly, I'm serious. I mean, it's like they had a bloke, Kendrick Perkins, who was supposed to be a great locker room presence. And he's got deals around the league now because they say he's good in the locker room. He doesn't play a lot, but
He's still got some left in the tank.
He's got a little bit. But no, it's a credit to him though.
Yeah.
You know, they love that stuff over there. And one thing I'd bring back from the States here, wow, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Sports 24/7.
Yeah, no. I think they do steakhouses better than us, if that counts for anything. Their steakhouses are a little better, so.
Look, I know there are many
Do you
more.
want me to give that answer
I-
as well? Sorry.
No, look, I think, yeah, write a reply, go. You've got something good to offer. I reckon.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Tim Tams, definitely introduced some VBs at our St. Mary's graduation, and a few of them enjoyed those. And then the thing brought back from the States is my girlfriend, so pretty happy with that.
All right.
Had to get that in.
I can understand. That's a great finish, ladies and gentlemen, don't you reckon? Eh? What about take a bow, please? What's your girlfriend's name?
Anna. I've just embarrassed her, but it's okay.
And you said you wouldn't embarrass her, so
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
I think all's well in the world. Anna, you've got a great smile. You've got a great lad here. He's absolutely outstanding. A great way to finish tonight. Gentlemen, you have been incredible. You've shared a lot. You've stayed on stage longer than you needed to. And I think, no doubt, you'll probably answer a couple of questions. There'll be, given the way the world is, a couple of photos on the iPhone before you actually get out of here, captured in 20 and launched in another 20. That's the way the world is. Even the last game out of New Zealand, it was streamed live on YouTube. I think it is a changing world. Ladies and gentlemen, what about collectively, each and every one of us? Andrew Bogut, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew Dellavedova. Gentlemen, thank you very much.